This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
.45, this is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Anushka Madhavala, read by Soundhi Thavam. The President to make a special statement in Parliament today. The President urges modernisation for rapid economic growth. Leading Indian investors to explore opportunities in aviation and shipping. The Power and Energy Minister says an uninterrupted supply of power will be ensured island-wide. Water will be released for farming without disrupting power. In foreign news, Indian Parliament debates no confidence motion against Prime Minister Modi's government. In sports, England forward Lauren James apologises for Women's World Cup red card. President Ranil Wickremesinghe is scheduled to make a special statement in Parliament today. President Wickremesinghe will present proposals related to the implementation of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. The President is expected to detail the relevant ordinances to be brought to strengthen the 13th Amendment and grant powers to provincial councils other than police powers. President Ranil Wickremesinghe has emphasised that the realisation has dawned on Sri Lankans that rapid economic growth is only achievable through digital transformation. President Wickremesinghe noted that in today's world, the 21st century economy cannot compete effectively with outdated 20th century bureaucratic systems. The head of state said, to stay competitive, Sri Lanka must embrace change and modernise bureaucratic processes, adding by doing so, the nation can significantly reduce the time taken in administrative procedures, providing much-needed support to the people. President Ranil Wickremesinghe, addressing the launch of the key trade facilitation initiatives in Colombo yesterday, said, with the support of the International Trade Centre, Sri Lanka has successfully launched a crucial aspect of the new economy. The President stated that the challenges that have been faced have underscored the importance of transforming the country into a competitive and export-oriented economy. To achieve this, the head of state said, it is not only essential to restructure the economy, but also to empower and facilitate the private sector, particularly in the realm of trade. A group of 12 leading Indian investors whose attention has been drawn to starting several projects in Sri Lanka's shipping and aviation sector met the Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation, Nimal Siripala de Silva, yesterday for a discussion in this regard. In this discussion, the Indian investors stated that their group is focused on investing in the future development of the ports of Kankesanture and Trincomalee. Commenting on this, the minister said that with the commencement of the passenger cruise services and luxury passenger ship services between Kankesanture and India, the Ports Authority has taken steps to provide infrastructure to the Kankesanture port. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
A comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you.
The Cabinet spokesman and Mass Media Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said the government will take all possible efforts to continuously supply electricity to the south and that the water for agricultural purposes will be released without any interruption to the power supply. The minister, speaking at the weekly Cabinet media briefing held at the Government Information Department, said that this issue was discussed at this week's Cabinet meeting and no government in the world has the ability to control the current situation, that is natural disasters, when there is bad weather and climate change. The minister recalled that he had previously warned about the severe drought and that in such cases various media organizations had come together to distribute aid to the affected people. He also mentioned that when the water level comes down, one of the two choices, whether to irrigate the paddy lands or to provide electricity, will always have to be prioritized. He said that the government does not take arbitrary decisions at times like this, and that the government always consults the relevant authorities and takes action. Yesterday, the Energy Minister held discussions with all the authorities and presented 4 alternative measures to the country. The minister said that electricity and water are essential for the farmers and emphasized that due to the lack of rain, to provide both, if it does not rain, they will have to resort to alternative measures. The Power and Energy Minister Kanchana Wijesekara said the Ceylon Electricity Board will ensure an uninterrupted supply of power island-wide and has no plans for scheduled power cuts. He said the CEB will procure the necessary supplementary power needed to maintain a 24-hour uninterrupted supply of power. The minister further requested the public not to be misled by the political propagandas of certain parties. He expressed his views at a press conference held at the President's Media Centre. The Cabinet has decided to provide the maximum water required for hydroelectricity generation from the Samanalavawa Reservoir. However, hydropower generation of the Samanalavawa Reservoir will have to be stopped depending on the prevailing capacity by the 16th of August. Cricket legend Sachin Tendulkar visited Sri Lanka in his role as the UNICEF South Asia Regional Goodwill Ambassador. Sachin visited the UNICEF programs in the Sabragama province and met with the children and parents impacted by the COVID pandemic and the 2022 economic crisis. During the field mission, Sachin visited a preschool supported by UNICEF's ongoing midday meal school program and helped serve nutrient-rich food to the children. Since August 2022, UNICEF's midday meal program has been providing nutritious meals to 50,000 preschool children in nearly 1,400 schools across the country. The meal program has also helped boost preschool attendance. That concludes local news.
Elevate your life with People's Bank Excelsior. A comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Cabinet of Ministers on Monday approved the Anti-Money Laundering and Countering the Financing of Terrorism National Policy for 2023 to 2028 to prevent money laundering, financing of terrorism and other illegal activities. The Cabinet paper was presented by President Ranil Wickremesinghe in his capacity as the Finance, Economic Stabilisation and National Policies Minister. The Cabinet decision will help implement the action plans that include the tasks to be performed by the respective institutions as a solution to identified weaknesses in preventing money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism. The Financial Action Task Force is the intergovernmental body that sets international standards to prevent money laundering and terrorist financing, and it has introduced 40 recommendations to be implemented by all countries. That came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Live is brought to you by
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
The National Water Supply and Drainage Board says that the water supply will be suspended today in many areas due to essential maintenance work. Accordingly, the water supply will be suspended for 15 hours from 9 a.m. to 12 midnight to the areas of Vadua, Vaskadua, Potupitiya, Kalutara North, Katukurunda, Nagoda and Bentota. The water supply will also be suspended to the areas of Pagala, Bombuwala, Magona, Darga Town, Alutgama, Pilaminavatta, Kaluamodara and Moragalla, and came to you in Watchlight.
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
Moving on to a bulletin of world news making headlines this morning. India's parliament debates no confidence motion against Prime Minister Modi's government. Imran Khan barred from politics for 5 years. Tory Lanez sentenced to 10 years for shooting Megan Thee Stallion. India's parliament is debating a no-confidence motion that opposition parties have brought against Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government. Congress party lawmaker Gaurav Gogoi, who brought the motion on the 26th of July, initiated the debate. Lawmakers will vote on the motion tomorrow after the debate ends. Mr. Modi's government won't lose the vote, as his Bharatiya Janata Party and its allies have a majority in parliament. But opposition leaders say the debate will force Mr. Modi to speak on the ongoing ethnic clashes in the Manipur state. More than 150 people have died and tens of thousands have been displaced in Manipur since early May, when ethnic clashes broke out between the majority Meitei group and the tribal Kuki minority. Mr. Modi only publicly addressed the violence weeks later after a video that showed 2 women being paraded naked by a mob sparked global outrage. The former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, has been barred from holding public office for 5 years by the country's electoral authorities. The decision was announced by the Election Commission of Pakistan 3 days after Mr. Khan was sentenced to 3 years in prison for corruption. Tuesday's announcement also means Mr. Khan will be dismissed as an MP. He maintains the charges are politically motivated, but the Pakistani government denies this. Mr. Khan, 70, was elected as Pakistan's leader in 2018, but was ousted in a no-confidence vote last year after falling out with the country's powerful military. His guilty verdict on Saturday was centered on charges he incorrectly declared details of presents from foreign dignitaries and proceeds from their alleged sale. Canadian rapper Tory Lanez has been sentenced to 10 years for the shooting of fellow musician Megan Thee Stallion. Lanez shot Grammy winner Megan Thee Stallion in the feet during an argument between the pair after a party in 2020. He was found guilty on 3 gun-related charges in December and has been held in jail since. The shooting left Megan Thee Stallion needing surgery to remove bullet fragments from her foot. It occurred during the journey home from a pool party hosted by reality star Kylie Jenner. Prosecutors had asked the judge to impose a 13-year prison sentence. They said Lanez deserved a lengthy sentence for shooting a vulnerable victim on a quiet residential street and for waging a campaign to humiliate and re-traumatize her after the attack. His lawyers argued he should just get probation and time in a drug treatment program. Lanez's real name, Daystar Peterson, has had 7 US top albums in the past 7 years. Back to the headlines of the world news. India's parliament debates no-confidence motion against Prime Minister Modi's government. Imran Khan barred from politics for 5 years, and Tory Lanez sentenced to 10 years for shooting Megan Thee Stallion. That concludes this bulletin of world news.
Development News is brought to you by
Job opportunities from Deshakti Lanka in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Oman, including company housemaid, salary 156,000 rupees, 23 to 57 years. Contact 037 7500 500.
Arkia Airlines announced on Monday afternoon that it will begin direct flights from Israel to Sri Lanka beginning end October. Initially, the airline will operate a weekly flight from Tel Aviv on Tuesdays and from Sri Lanka on Wednesdays. The flight duration to Sri Lanka is 6 hours and 15 minutes. The inaugural flight on this new route is set for October 31st. The flights will be operated using the company's Airbus A321neo aircraft. Sri Lanka is especially popular among surfers, and Arkia stated that it will offer the option to transport personal surfboards. That came to you in Development News.
Job opportunities for women from Deshakti Lanka in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait and Oman. Company housemaids, caretakers and home cooks in Saudi Arabia for ages 23 to 57 years. Salary starting from 156,000 rupees. Interviews are now on with foreign agents. You can now travel overseas free of charge. Branches Colombo, Kurunagala, Anuradhapura and Matara. Contact number 037 7500 500. Deshakti Lanka Foreign Development Agency.
Moving on to sports news. England forward Lauren James has apologized for her red card during the Women's World Cup last 16 win over Nigeria and says she will learn from the experience. She was sent off following a VAR review for stamping on Michelle Azorki's back in a tie England won on penalties. James will be suspended for Saturday's quarter-final against Colombia. The 21-year-old was one of the stars of England's group games with 3 goals and 3 assists. Meanwhile, Caroline Wozniacki said that she was definitely a little rusty following her first-round victory at the Canadian Open on her return to tennis after retiring in 2020. The former world number 133 has since given birth to 2 children and beat qualifier Kimberly Birrell of Australia 6-2, 6-2 in Montreal. She will face either Wimbledon champion Marketa Vondrousova or Egypt's Maya Sharif in her second round. That came to you in sports news. It's business news next.
Go ekaktiana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyameta set wenna as wahagena dakapugina habe karana youth ekata niyameta set wenna friendship ekamenna.
The all new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business news sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Hundreds of Amazon sellers have complained that the online marketplace is withholding their money. Amazon said it emailed sellers about a delivery date-based reserve which holds some money in case of refunds. But some sellers have written to their MPs saying they cannot get the cash needed to run their businesses. Vinyl and CD seller Mario told the BBC Amazon is holding £5,000, leaving him shaken and panicked and fearing he can no longer continue trading. He has been selling music on Amazon for 7 years but said he can no longer afford to renew his stock or pay for a postage to fulfill his current orders. That's business news. We move on to economic news next.
Business news sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekaktiana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyameta set wenna as wahagena dakapugina habe karana youth ekata niyameta set wenna friendship ekamenna.
The all new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news, Italy has passed a one-off 40% tax on the profits banks earn from higher interest rates in a shock move that has seen shares plummet. A hike in official interest rates has resulted in record profits for Italian banks, prompting the government's move. Proceeds will be used to help mortgage holders and to cut taxes, the government says. But Italian banks have said the tax on their profits will be substantially negative for the sector. The surprise move was agreed by Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's ministers at a cabinet meeting late on Monday. They vowed to invest the funds raised into helping households and businesses struggling with the cost of borrowing. And on to the weather report. Several spells of showers will occur in the Gaul, Matara and Ratnapura districts. A few showers will occur in the Western Province and in the Kerala, Kandy and Nuwara districts. Showers or thundershowers may occur at a few places in the eastern and Uva provinces and in the Mullaitivu district during the evening or night. Mainly fair weather will prevail elsewhere over the island. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. The President to make a special statement in Parliament today. The President urges modernization for rapid economic growth. Leading Indian investors to explore opportunities in aviation and shipping. The Power and Energy Minister says an uninterrupted supply of power will be ensured island-wide. Water will be released for farming without disrupting power. India's Parliament debates no confidence motion against Prime Minister Modi's government. And England forward Lauren James apologizes for Women's World Cup red card. With that, we conclude this morning's news broadcast.